Welcome to this presentation of Portnox's Zero Trust Remote Access. First, a little bit about Portnox. We are a pure play network access control solutions provider founded in 2007. Today, we have well over 50 employees worldwide with offices in the US, UK, and Israel. One of the key focus areas of Portnox is being the first to lead in the market of delivering network access control as a service. That's enterprise grade network access control covering all access layers of the company. In addition to those, or as an augment to those solutions, we have additional use case specific capabilities that we deliver to the market. Those include Radius as a service, secure Wi-Fi as a service, an ability to move away from using PSK to certificate grade Wi-Fi security literally in a matter of minutes, and also zero trust remote access as a service. It is the zero trust remote access piece that we'll focus on for the remainder of this presentation and the associated demonstration. First, let's take a look at what remote access for most organizations looks like today. That would be your remote employee connecting to the headquarters via your VPN or maybe remote VDI, as well as potentially having access to enterprise cloud apps through such solutions as Okta single sign-on to enterprise cloud applications. From a security perspective, of course, the VPN provides encryption level security, so the in-transmission communication back to the headquarters or remote or office is encrypted. Solutions like Okta provide encryption via SSL driven by the applications you're accessing, single sign-on to enterprise cloud applications, as well as multi-factor authentication into the cloud app. So the question we propose, is this enough? Our position, that is not enough to protect your remote access topology. That really what you need to drive to is delivering zero trust for remote access. And that requires three capabilities not found in your traditional remote access solutions. Those include continuous endpoint risk awareness. So understanding these devices by definition are remote. They may not be on your local network for weeks, if not months. So having a solution and ability to be fully aware of the current risk posture of those devices is critically important. And Portnox Clear and our remote zero trust remote access solution delivers that. As well as not just being aware of that risk, but being notified through alerts and notifications from a monitor perspective, as well as you'll see, moving into an enforcement mode, being able to actually take actions based on the risk of the device. So if that remote device is not within an acceptable risk tolerance, being able to deny it access through the VPN or to enterprise cloud apps through a solution such as Okta. And lastly, being able to proactively remediate that endpoint. Again, understanding that it will not be or may not be on your LAN for weeks or months, having a solution that can drive compliance to the endpoint continuously. So if the firewall is disabled or antivirus is disabled or some other functions that would put it within an unacceptable risk, being able to proactively correct those actions. And those are the three key facets that Portnox Clear and our Zero Trust Remote Access delivers on top of your existing remote infrastructure. So let's take a look on how that's deployed. First, we had mentioned this is a cloud service. So it's delivered 100% as a cloud service. You can simply create an instance and in one check of the box, stand up everything that you see represented in the cloud. So you stand up a Radius server in the cloud. That is not just a Radius server, but fully load balanced and auto scale with VM constructs. So it's elastic from the standpoint of demands that may be placed upon it. Deployed high availability within the cloud. You can set the cloud in geo distribution mode, so you can have multiple clouds in the case of any issue with any specific instance of the cloud, as well as performance and service monitoring tools that are available. This is all hosted in Azure. And finally, the entire solution is SOC 2 Type 2 certified. From there, you deploy the Clear agent. We call it Agent P. And it is that agent on those remote devices, using PCs as an example, that is going to give us the continuous awareness of risk. And it's going to report that back into your cloud instance and give you the ability within this monitor mode to alert you and notify you of any devices that may be within a risk level that may be unacceptable. It's also going to give you real-time risk mitigation. So again, it's going to be able to proactively take actions against those endpoints that are, again, off your network. They're remote, to help bring that back into compliance. So you can deploy Portnox Clear just in this monitoring and alerting a fashion with no changes whatsoever to any of your existing remote infrastructure. Now, if you want to go to the next step and actually make the solution proactive so that it can use that risk and awareness in order to take actions and maybe deny access through the VPN. And that to move to that level, you simply configure your existing VPN or remote or VDI to point to the radius server that you've created by checking that box in the cloud. Or if you do have Okta from a single sign-on perspective for your cloud apps, you simply point Okta as well to your cloud instance. And from that point, then access through the VPN or access to enterprise cloud apps is not just going to be about authentication, but it's also going to be about the current risk posture of the device. And if it's out of risk tolerance for whatever you define that to be for your organization or for the particular group that the user accessing belongs to, then we can prevent that access. So it becomes zero trust remote access control, continuous risk awareness, not just risk notification, but also enforcement, that continuous endpoint risk mitigation to help keep the device in a compliant state. And then finally, we can also add to the solution multi-factor authentication, which is both user and device-based, which can be very important for VPN versus just a user-based MFA type solution. User and device, so that you can be sure that someone isn't going to connect an unauthorized device using their credentials, let's say, to your enterprise through your VPN. All of this delivers zero trust remote access control. All of this stood up as a cloud service. All of this could be stood up, running, functioning within an hour. Now let's take a moment to take a little deeper dive into the actual solution. Here I am now logged into our demo environment of Portnox Clear, again focused on the zero trust remote access capabilities delivered within the Portnox Clear service. At a high level, from a high level dashboard perspective, you can be constantly aware of the number of devices connected. You can see here on the right that we have geolocation, so the solution is geolocation enabled, which is a great value. So you can have that as part of your, let's say, risk-based controls if you only wanted people who did VPN in from doing so from certain countries. But moving into setting the solution up to give you an idea of how easy it is, again, all as a cloud service. One of the very first things you need to do once you create your instance of Clear is, again, to create that radius server. As I had shown earlier. You would have your choice, and let's just say, again, if you were just creating the instance, neither of those would be checked. You could check both of them to configure it in geo distribution, or maybe just check, let's say, the US and North America, and that instantly stands up everything it had shown prior in the cloud, the radius server, the redundancy, the load balancing, all of that is stood up instantly, and then it provides the information you need if you want to move from monitor mode to enforcement mode to point your VPN concentrator or Okta to that radius service so that your Clear instance can participate in the authorization of devices trying to connect. Next, we're going to go into groups. And so we're just going to create a clear group to give you a feeling for how easy the solution is to set up and configure. And we've already set up a group, and we're saying, let's say we have a sales remote access. So these are all the salespeople who work remotely, and we want to set up a group that's going to provide zero trust remote access for those particular users and devices. The first thing you need to do is you need to find who is a member of this group. That could be by company email, or that could also be by integration with Azure AD, Active Directory, G Suite, also Okta Universal Directory Services. And so let's say we're going to take everybody who's in our existing sales team OU, and now that becomes the users in their computers that are part of this group. Next, again, focused on the zero trust remote access. Of course, we're going to give this group access to connect to and through the VPN. Again, you can extend this service into the LAN, but again, we're focused on the zero trust remote access. So this group has access to connect via the VPN. And also, if we suppose that we have Okta from a single sign-on to my enterprise cloud apps, that access as well. Next, you define the policies that this group is going to be defined under. And that is first the risk assessment policy. Again, the continuous awareness of the risk. So what attributes or what's the definition of compliance for this particular group? And we've already set up a policy called the sales remote access policy. So we can set that. And also I mentioned proactive remediation. That's again where it can proactively take steps to keep those devices in a compliant state. And we've created a policy, this remote sales endpoint action policy. Just to note, additionally, you can have an access control policy. So when they connect through the VPN, if you want to put them on a different VLAN, you can set that as well. So next, I'm just going to go through and show you how simple it is to build a risk policy and a remediation policy. So we'll move under policies. And we'll look at risk assessment policy, sales risk policy. We'll edit that policy. And let's just suppose we are in a Windows environment. So we'll look from a Windows perspective. And we'll see the current attributes that Portnox can track from a risk posture perspective. For example, geolocation, very important, could be very important for a VPN. So in this example, I'm setting a geolocation policy that says the people in this group can VPN in, but I expect them to VPN only from Canada, the United Kingdom, in the United States. Again, just as an example. And if they VPN from outside of those authorized regions, I would contribute a risk of 100 to this device. And here is your access control policy for this group. You can see that at 100, it puts it at a block category. So even if everything was good, the device connects through the VPN, everything's fine. However, because it's at 100 risk, we would not allow it to connect through the VPN. Some of the other attributes you can see, maybe hard drive encryptions, maybe you don't want certain peripheral devices, firewalls, antivirus. Want to make sure that antivirus is up and running. We want to make sure that the firewall is enabled. So you can see the attributes that you can keep. You can also check to make sure it's a domain membership. Another great way to guarantee that only company devices are accessing through your VPN. As well as if you do have Intune, it integrates with Intune. And again, going to that example, you could make sure that it's managed by Intune, another way to validate it's a company device, and or if it's not compliant with Intune, maybe you want that to be an event that may cause it to be denied access as well. So that's the risk, that's how easy it is to set the risk management or the risk controls of a particular remote access device. And finally, we'll move to remediation policy. Looking at the remediation, again, understanding what remediation policy is proactive measures that you can take on the endpoint. Whether, again, it's off the network, it doesn't have to be connected to any network, and the agent can be taking these actions continuously to help keep that device in compliance. So you can see the types of items, again, under Windows that actions we can perform on the endpoint. Make sure that the antivirus is always up and running or the firewall is started. maybe you don't want to make sure that the device is never bridged. You can make sure that certain USB devices, and so in this example and in the demo we'll actually show where we want to prevent a mobile phone from being connected to the PC, and you'll be able to see how the agent instantly takes action against that from happening. As well as you can configure if there's additional items you want to do, you can set a login script or a periodic script, which really gives you the flexibility to go beyond what we currently have. This will continue to grow from a remediation standpoint, but really you can do anything that you'd like with that scripting capability. So once you have this configured and set for all of your remote devices, just to give you a view, you have great visibility into those, continuous visibility. Again, without modifying your environment at all, you get this level of visibility. You can alert on different things. And again, only if you want to move to enforcement mode would you have a slight configuration to do on your VPN, again, to point it to your clear radius servers as well as within Okta. But without even making those changes, you get a level of visibility. So for example, if I wanted to look at a particular device that's on the network. Here I am looking at this particular device. You can see its risk score. You can see why it's at that risk state. You see all the details here on the right of the device. You can go to more details. And again, you see everything about that device. The users, the networks, the hotfixes, certificates, peripherals, everything about that device. So at that agent, you get significant visibility, all searchable from that perspective for those devices that have the agent and those connecting remotely. So next, we're going to move to an actual real use case demo where we're going to connect. We have a WatchGuard VPN, so we're going to show that connecting and show if it's out of compliance, the impact that has from an access perspective. So here we have our desktop, and what we're going to do is we are going to bring up the VPN client, again, in this case, WatchGuard VPN, and we're going to connect to the VPN just as normal. I should mention that this solution, this PC is running Agent P. It has the agent, and so you'll see in a moment notifications that it connected. But it does, it's fine with policy, and so it's going to connect to the VPN without any issues. And we see that it's connected now to the actual VPN concentrator in this case. You can see going to our alerts dashboard that the device in fact did successfully connect. So it's fine, it's okay, it's in compliance, we're aware of it, just kind of a notification. But now what we're going to do is first we're going to actually disable the VPN, disconnect the VPN just for a moment. And now we're going to take some action to make this device non-compliant. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn off the antivirus. So by turning off that antivirus, again, that's going to be something that's detected by the agent, and that is going to be an event that actually, based on policy, actually reaches the block level. So if we look here again at the policy for Windows, we do see that antivirus is set to be 100. So if there's no up and running and updated antivirus, it would contribute 100 in this case. That would put it over 80, and that would result in us not allowing access through the VPN. We can see we are made aware that the Agent P has already detected that the device has reached a risk score of 100. We even see that again within the audit trail. But supposing the end user is not aware of that and they're going to try and connect through the VPN anyways, we'll show you how the solution, the zero trust remote access, prevents that from happening. So we're going to move back now to the VPN, the same as prior, and we're just going to connect as we had before. But this time you're going to see that connection is going to fail. You'll see in the bottom right a pop-up message from Agent P explaining that that's being stopped. Additionally, on the device itself, you can look at the actual Agent P agent and see that messaging as we see here. We can also now go back to the dashboard, and we should see a high alert, and we can see that a VPN access was denied due to policy. Next, we're going to give a brief demo on an example of the real-time remediation. And in this example, we're going to use a USB peripheral device, and we're going to say again that mobile devices are not allowed to be connected at any time, whether it's on or off the network, to this particular endpoint. And so that's the check we're going to perform. And what we're going to do now is you're going to see is we're going to try, as we're doing now, we're connecting a mobile phone. You'll see it blink very quickly. You'll see that was a phone trying to connect. You see how instantaneously Portnox Agent P disconnected that mobile phone, again, because the remediation policy says that it's not allowed. We can go back to the dashboard, and in the dashboard, we should see that that event occurred as well. There you see that we took a preventative action. So that is the high-level. That is our high-level demonstration and presentation on Zero Trust Remote Access Control with Portnox Agent P. You can feel free to create your own instance. Go to portnox.com to create an instance. Work with the solution. Again, you can configure it in monitor-only mode for alerting and complete visibility at endpoints, and then move to the enforcement mode where that risk resulting risk factors can actually take effect of blocking access to your VPN or through Okta to your cloud applications. We appreciate your time, and now we'll open things for any questions you may have.